How's it going, you guys? So today in this video I figured I would talk a little bit about my experience over the last 2 months taking ashwagandha. So first of all, before I start this video, I gotta point out that yes, I do have a black eye. That's because during the quarantine I had some good friends that are still training MMA. They invited me over to their gym to train with them, and I got kicked pretty hard in the face during light sparring, go figure. So, try not to focus too much on my beautiful black eye. So, nonetheless, here we go. Ashwagandha. So, I've been taking ashwagandha, for, about a month cycles, on and off since 2015. And it's played a pretty substantial role in some of my greatest mental and emotional transformations over the years. It was one of the very first tonic herbs I started taking. I consider it a tonic herb, but it's more so an adaptogen, but I think they're both pretty much the same thing. And I've made plenty of videos about it. You could find them by searching ashwagandha and then my channel name in the search bar. So, right off the bat, one of the most amazing benefits, and by the way, I've been taking it now consistently for about 2 months again during this current cycle, maybe almost 3. One of the most substantial benefits from ashwagandha is definitely its relaxation and calming benefits. And it can be used as a tranquilizer, but it can also be used to contribute towards building energy at the same time. It really depends on the dose and the type of extract that you take. If you take a standardized extract like the Sensorol or the KSM 66, it's going to have a much different effect than if you were to take the whole herb extract. Or the whole herb powder. So I'm taking the whole herb powder by a brand called Terrasoul. And at first, when I started taking ashwagandha during this cycle, I was only taking about 1/8 of a teaspoon, and I would take it in the morning with coffee and reishi mushroom. And I didn't really notice too much of an effect. I think I noticed a little bit of an energy boost and more clear focus in my mind, more fluidity of thoughts, but nothing too substantial. I think it relieved stress to an extent and kind of helped me endure harder cycles in life. But then I started to notice if I took 1/4 of a teaspoon, it would make me feel real calm, almost to the point where I wanted to go to sleep. And so, in the middle of, changing around my work shifts, where before I was working during the daytime, and then during the quarantine, I switched to night shifts because those hours were more available at the time. I started to notice I had sleeping problems when I'd get off of a night shift, and so I had a wild idea to try taking like a 1/2 teaspoon of ashwagandha to try to help me sleep. And so instead of taking it in the morning, I then started taking it before bed, and it helped a substantial bit. I've done experiments with and without reishi and other things, and I've noticed ashwagandha seems to be one of the most powerful, calming, and relaxing herbs that I've ever taken. And it has the most significant benefit on deeper sleep. So I do wear a Fitbit most of the time. Right now, for some reason, I'm not wearing it, but I tracked my sleep and I noticed I used to get about 1 hour of REM and 1 hour of deep sleep, and that about doubled to 2 hours within a 6 to 8 hour window of sleep when I started to take a teaspoon of pure ashwagandha powder before I go to bed. Now, the other substantial benefit to the ashwagandha is not only does it put you to sleep, a lot faster. Like within 30 minutes, you start to feel like you want to go to sleep. It also seems to do this regardless of caffeine intake. There was one day where I took caffeine, about 200 milligrams, about 4 hours before bed, and I still managed to go to sleep by taking ashwagandha. And I believe that that's because caffeine mostly induces its effects by increasing cortisol, increasing adrenaline, increasing dopamine and the other catecholamine complex, rather than blocking adenosine receptors like a lot of people think. Okay. And ashwagandha happens to increase GABA and lower cortisol. So it basically directly antagonizes the effects of caffeine, which is why some people can go to sleep after drinking caffeine and others can't. It's because the mechanism of action is not what people think it really is. Anyway, ashwagandha helped to negate the insomnia-inducing effects of caffeine. So, and again, the dose makes the poison, or the dose makes the effect, because a lot of people, they'll take ashwagandha to keep them from falling asleep. But I personally would not use it that way because it's hit or miss. It's more so a relaxing herb than anything. And you might accidentally make yourself more sleepy than preventing sleep. What are some other benefits? So, during this cycle, I have noticed greater mental clarity, and a greater ability to endure more stressful cycles in life, 100%. It helps to offset a lot of that cortisol-inducing effects of things like coffee. Obviously, the best way to avoid that would be just to not drink coffee at all. But just in case someone is wanting to kind of like counteract some of those negative effects of coffee, ashwagandha really helps to do so. So there is a tendency for ashwagandha to maybe make you feel a little bit lazy, maybe make you feel lethargic and indifferent. But I think after you take it for a while, those effects kind of die down and you get to a more balanced and even keel state of focus and just relaxed, calm energy. And you might notice greater productivity just because you don't feel as stressed about the things that you need to do. Obviously, there's a lot of nootropic type effects that a lot of people swear ashwagandha induces, and I do believe that that's the case, especially more so in a subtle way, which I think is the greatest thing you can get, because the more substantial the effects of an herb, typically the more substantial the side effects. But what I would describe the feelings of ashwagandha would be kind of like GABA boosting, okay? It basically just kind of like numbs a lot of the stress response and allows you to react to circumstances in a more grounded and rational fashion. It takes away the anxiety, takes away the pressure, takes away the stress, and allows you to just live life for what it is rather than for how it feels. So the main benefits though are definitely putting you to sleep if you take a big enough a dose before bed, and then as a side effect of lowering stress and improving sleep, you'll have more energy, because stress is typically the biggest killer of energy in the first place. And if you take it the right way and you're doing it properly and all other things are on point, you got your nutrition on check, you got your lifestyle, and you really know what healthy nutrition is, which unfortunately most health advice is nonsense, then you'll be feeling better than you've ever felt in your life. So there are some other benefits, increased libido. Some people have reported like a doubling in their testosterone and their free testosterone from ashwagandha. There's some studies that show that there might be potential for it in the long term. increase sports performance, increase endurance. Those are big ones. And I believe maybe increased appetite. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that's indicative of healthy hormonal patterns. And just feeling much healthier and more vigorous. And so there are obviously some downsides as well. For one, it seems like ashwagandha increases the excretion of sodium. Maybe not to a substantial degree, but if you're on a low-carb diet, that's something you should watch out for. Might feel dizzy, especially upon standing up from a laying position. But all you got to do is take, a half a teaspoon of salt if you feel that way, and you'll feel better. Also, there are reports of increased thyroid hormone production, and that might be because ashwagandha seems to be able to increase the conversion of T3 to T4, I believe it is. And so for some people, they might feel an increase in anxiety and jitteriness, but again, I don't like to press that point too much, because I think that there's a lot more to it, and it might possibly not be that ashwagandha is bad for you, but more so that you're not taking it in the right way for your situation. Like I said before, you take a little bit of it, it might increase energy. You take a lot of it, might put you to sleep. And I've noticed the same thing goes with something like rhodiola. But yeah, so, after about maybe 2 weeks of taking it, I think I noticed a little bit of, what would you say, more laziness and lethargy, maybe a little bit of a depressed mood there for a bit, just more sentimental feelings, similar to what you'd feel if you take a serotonin enhancing herb like rhodiola. But I think that went away after a couple of days. And so now it's just more relaxation, more groundedness, and as long as I get outside, I feel great. And I think another thing is most people probably don't know what it feels like to be without stress. Most people are used to drinking coffee and feeling that surge of adrenal hormones and cortisol, and so they think that that's energy, they think that that's productive. And I remember back when I was really big on caffeine, and I'd always feel so high on that cortisol rush, I felt as if I was getting more done than I actually was. And then when I removed the caffeine or lowered my dosage, I would still be getting about the same amount of work done, but I didn't realize how much work I was getting done at the time, because I didn't feel that stress. And so if you take ashwagandha, you might feel kind of relaxed, maybe you feel lazy, maybe you feel sad, but there's a chance that maybe that's how you naturally would have felt without all the stress and cortisol and the caffeine and things. And typically people take caffeine a lot of times to kind of wash away those feelings anyway. And so this whole laziness or depressed mood or something, it might actually just be how normal is supposed to feel. Right now I feel so calm and just centered and balanced. I don't feel like a rush. And most people think that that's what energy is. But I think energy is more so the capacity to do what you need to do when you want to do it, rather than feeling this just ever-present feeling of energy or adrenaline. I think that's stress hormones. And so ashwagandha tends to lower those things. So there's a variety of other things to talk about, but this is more so just my experience. It's mostly been balanced, centering, relaxing, and I definitely say a boost in libido. But when I was taking reishi, I think it counteracted the boost in libido. But yeah, so ashwagandha's got amazing, powerful, relaxing, centering, grounding effects, and it should be used methodically. If you have trouble taking a small dose, try raising the dose. And if it puts you to sleep, try taking it before bed. And change the dosages change the time of day. And personally, again, I'm talking about a whole root powder, not an extract. So, big difference between taking something like Sensorol extract or KSM 66. Big difference. Or some of the Himalaya extracts that I've talked about in past videos. This one is more closer to how it's meant to be taken. And I do think it's best to take it with fat, but I think I've actually noticed the most effective relaxing benefit on an empty stomach. So post your experiences down below. Let me know if what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next video.